Welcome, everyone, to our multi-platform service for the Unitarian Church of Staten Island. We are so grateful to have you join us. For those joining us in person, it is wonderful to have you back. Please be sure to wear masks throughout the service and to maintain social distancing. Please be seated and try not to form lines. During the service, all music will be performed by our musicians and worship leaders. We encourage you to listen and follow along silently, singing in your hearts. For those joining us online, we send special greetings to you. We hope you take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat box this morning. After service, all are invited to the coffeeless coffee hour. Those in person are invited to sit in circles for conversation and reflection in the parish hall after the service. Please move to the parish hall for ease of comfort and to maintain physical social distancing. For those online, you will be having a virtual coffee hour after service. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is lovely to see all of you, all of your faces, whether you are here in person or joining us online. Good morning, everyone. Welcome from the comfort of your homes, from wherever you are and however you are feeling this morning. Welcome into this space. I hope you find a way to get comfortable in your own body, to rest and relax, and to be ready to join us in worship this morning. I'm the Reverend Emily D. Tarbert, speaking live here on the corner of Fillmore and Clinton Avenue. Grateful to be with all of you. I begin our service this morning with words modified from Reverend Sarah Lindsay. Hope is hard to hold on to. Possibility seems a million miles away, just a hint of the promise that once was, like the light of the stars we catch in the dark. Joy is hard to hold on to. And yet, each night again, we take the shamash and we light the candles. Small flames, one by one, defiant, free in spite of it all. Even when we can barely catch it, hope exists. With each of the millions of lights that we kindle, determination comes, warmth grows, love is known, and happiness begins to bloom. So we light them, as we have before, and as we will again. We never stop kindling the flame.
We light this chalice in the spirit for truth and the spirit of love. We unite in worship and fellowship. As an extension of lighting our chalice, I want to take a moment of silence to light these candles in the names of those who have recently been affected by police brutality. We cannot cover all of the names of those affected. We light a candle for the life of Anthony Harden, for the life of Richard Lee Richards, for the life of Jacob Blake. May these lights be a symbol of our commitment to continue the work of racial justice and to proclaim Black Lives Matter.
And now we will listen in our hearts to our opening hymn, Dark of Winter, which I will perform with our lovely pianist, Eleanor. Thank you, Eleanor, for gracing us with your beautiful music this morning. I don't have a second mic, so I'm going to be singing from the pulpit this morning. Thank you all. Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me. And then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
Now is a time in our service for joys and sorrows. If you are visiting with us for the first time, this would be an excellent time for you to introduce yourself if you would like to do so. For those who are gathering in person, we invite you to raise your hand and then stand where you are seated and speak aloud your joy or sorrow. Reverend Emily will then repeat what you have said into the microphone so those joining online can hear what you have shared. I will drop a blue pebble in this bowl to signify the ways you help add to our community by sharing what is on your heart. For those who are joining us online, we invite you to type into the chat your joys and sorrows. Emily will read them aloud, and I will drop a blue pebble in this bowl again, signifying the ways you add to our community.
Mike will read them aloud from the chat, and I'm grateful for Mike for being here this morning. Anyone have joys or sorrows they'd like to share this morning? Yes.
I'm Juliet, and this is kind of a strange joy. This is been a struggle for me for a few years. I drew a boundary with my mother, and I adhered to the boundary. So, with feeling super guilty and being a hard person, but drawing a boundary in the interest of taking care of myself. It's only if I take care of myself am I able to take care of others. So that is my joy, and I have to keep affirming that I really do.
Amen, Juliet. Juliet shares that she has a joy to share, which is that she drew a boundary with her mother, someone she cares deeply about, and by drawing the boundary, she's caring for herself and caring for her mother at the same time, even though, of course, in drawing boundaries comes all feelings of guilt and remorse and all those things, but it is a joy and a good thing to have boundaries, and we are grateful for you, Juliet. Anyone else who'd like to share what's on their heart this morning? Tom.
Yes, it's a sorrow. Many of you, or all of you, know Bruce Gillen, and he was in the hospital this week, and he's in Cold Lakes. He was transferred to Cold Lakes Health and Rehab yesterday. So if you call, you'll be able to get through and talk to him. I'm sure he'd like to talk to you. Just remind him to put his hearing aid in.
Tom shares a sorrow, which is that Bruce Gillum is in the hospital now. He was moved to Clove Lakes Rehabilitation Center, is that correct? Yes, and so we encourage everyone who knows Bruce Gillum to please call Cloves Lake, give him a call, maybe remind him to put in his hearing aid, but our thoughts and our hearts are with Bruce Gillum this morning. Is there anyone else who'd like to share? Maureen.
Today we get to spend the day celebrating the 6th birthday of our neighbor who we absolutely
someone in his class got COVID this week, and now he's quarantined. And so for all the 6-year-olds and all the children who miss out on so much this time with COVID, that's a sorrow because he's a joyous kid and he's resilient and he'll do well. That's not like that's not his birthday with him. He's just an awesome little 6-year-old that we come to love. But just thinking made me think about all the people in the world and all the things that we are missing during this pandemic, and all the things that children are missing out on that are joyous parts of their lives. And hopefully we're all strong and resilient. And as they say, that does not give up on makes us stronger. But I feel sad to not be guessing.
Yes. Sorry, can you repeat the name for me one more time? His name? Yasim. Maureen shares that we're thinking of Yasim, a 6-year-old who has a birthday today, but had been exposed to a person in his classroom that has COVID and so is quarantining for his birthday. And she remarks on just how much children have missed this past year. So our hearts are with all the children, with so many people who have dealt with this ongoing pandemic, and may there be a time when children can safely celebrate all the milestones of their lives together. Jim.
Yeah, Jim France. I have joy, which is I visited with my sister on Friday, extended visit for a couple hours. I'm the baby of the family. My sister, who in her mid-80s, was still working. As she was getting ready for work one day, she took a snowball and she fractured her wrist and she hurt her hip. This was in September of 2019. The wrist was fractured. They held off doing hip surgery and the healing of her wrist. And then COVID-19 happened, so her April 2020 hip surgery was canceled, still hasn't been done, and now they never be done because of advanced stage comorbidity, recovery is now. And she has a trumpet son who drives her crazy, who discouraged her from getting vaccinations. She's going to get the vaccination on the slide behind his back. She's basically been home confined since the Indians took her a couple of doctor visits. And she's in a development where there's no safe way for her to get in and out. There's multiple stairs, the stairwell of each way. So she was discouraging us from visiting because there's also no parking in her area. Maryland's been lobbying to get us up here. I finally coordinated something with our son and we were there visiting. It was a lovely visit. She was very happy to see us.
Jim Franz lifts up the ability to visit his sister, who's just been having ongoing health issues and just a hard time navigating her living space with some health issues. So grateful that Jim got to see his sister, and grateful to hear that, even though along with the hardship of everything she's facing and all the things, all the things she might need support with. Thank you, Jim. I want to give a moment to see if anyone in the chat is commenting, Mike.
Yes, we have a couple. We have a couple of people who have commented. Jennifer says she has a sorrow for love lost. And Sue Flynn says that she is grateful for being in Virginia, having an early Christmas with her son, daughter-in-law, and of course her grandson, Roka.
Rocco. Thank you, Sue. It's great to hear from everyone online. Thank you, Jennifer and Sue. Please keep chatting if you have something on your heart. Kathy, I see you have your hand. Oh, what a blessing. Kathy shares that her newest granddaughter, what's your granddaughter's name? Victoria, who's 10 months old, for the first time in a long time because of the pandemic, is able to actually see other kids at a community center nearby. What a joy to see these things. And it's both a joy that it's happening, but also heartbreaking that it's been so long. So we continue to hold that. Mike, is there someone else on the chat? Something that you'd like to share? Sorry. Okay.
Vicky just chimes in and she says that she has two joys. That her niece, she says, my niece's pregnancy is going well, and she heard from someone after 25 years and cleared the air.
Oh, blessings, Vicky. Thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else who'd like to share this morning? One moment. I'm going to go check my chat just to see if anyone's texting me. Well, with that, and also just a gratitude that Eleanor's here with us. Thank you, Eleanor. Thanks, Christine. With that, I welcome us to reflect in our hearts and in our minds on those things that haven't been said, knowing that they are shared in community. Let us enter into a moment of meditation and reflection this morning. O Spirit of life and love, we are grateful for another Sunday together in this ever-evolving space of virtual and in person together. We are grateful for a community to share what's on our hearts. We know that we're still continuing to figure out the dynamics of this pandemic and COVID, and grateful for the joys of our children or grandchildren meeting children, of moments that are get to shared together, of visits with family, while also holding the hardship of children whose birthdays aren't celebrated in the same way we think of people who are sick or who are in need of healing. There's so much that is left unspoken, and we continue to care for each other in the ways we share our joys and sorrows, and the ways we live out our faith and call for justice. Let us take a moment of silence to reflect on what's on our hearts this morning. For all these things in our hearts, and for all those things left unsaid, we say amen, and may it be.
We now have a reading. It is Each Candle a Miracle by Amanda Eudice Kessler. We light the Hanukkah candles in wonder, joy, and gratitude, each candle a miracle. When the Holy Temple was rededicated at the time of the Maccabean liberated battle, only 1 day's worth of oil remained, yet it burned for 8 days, so we light candles in remembrance. We rededicate ourselves to the miracle of light in a season of darkness, to the miracle of trust in a time of anxiety, to the miracle of hope in a time of despair, to the miracle of faith in a time of cynicism. We rededicate ourselves to the miracle of wholeness in a time of fracture, to the miracle of courage in a time of fear, to the miracle of resistance in a time of oppression, to the miracle of peace in a time of violence. In a time of hatred, we rededicate ourselves to the miracle of love. So ends our reading.
Tonight, countless families across Staten Island, across New York City, across this country will be lighting candles in a menorah. Across the world, Jewish families will gather at sunset to light 7 candles for the 7th night of Hanukkah. This quote-unquote relatively minor holiday is a major part of Jewish life, and its message in this holiday season has a powerful statement for people of all faiths: the beauty and the power of religious freedom. Let us retell the story of Hanukkah this morning and listen to the words of wisdom from others about a message of freedom that burns in the candles at night. Hanukkah is based on a story from the Talmud and related to the biblical books of the Maccabees. Once, a long time ago, King Antiochus, a Syrian Greek king, ruled over Israel. And under the rule of the king, the practice of Judaism was abolished. This meant that Jewish people couldn't read Torah, couldn't enjoy festivals, couldn't pray in public. In fact, they were thrown out of their holy temple. Where the Torah once stood, a statue of Zeus was erected. At the time, many Jews were afraid for their lives. They hid the practice of their faith. But a small band of faithful, poorly armed Jews, led by Judah the Maccabee, fought the king. Compared with the king's army, they were small in number, but they were mighty in spirit. And with faith and relentless determination, the Maccabees won a stunning victory over the king's army. When the Maccabees successfully took back the temple, they started the work of cleaning the temple and rededicating it. And this is where the miracle happens. They light the temple flame, but the flame that's meant to be kept lit perpetually, they realize the oil for it can only last 1 night. They know it will take 8 days for someone to go and get more oil. They worry the flame will go out. But miraculously enough, the small vial of oil burns for 8 nights, just in time for the oil to be replenished and the light to be kept burning. Once the temple has been cleaned, the Maccabees hold a rededication ceremony for the temple. In fact, the word Hanukkah means dedication. Today, Jewish people around the world celebrate and honor the miracle of the oil that lasted 8 nights by eating fried foods in oil and celebrating for each night, lighting a candle. Hanukkah is a joyful celebration with family, one of delicious fried foods that, while I'm not Jewish, I look forward to the latkes my wife will be making later today. The Maccabean War wasn't the only war the Israelites and the Jewish people of antiquity would end up fighting. The Greek Syrians would not be the only people who would conquer Israel or try to prevent people of Jewish faith from celebrating their religious traditions. In antiquity, I could list off Greeks, the Syrians, the Babylonians, the Persians, and I could keep going. But even if we don't think about antiquity, across the millennia, the Jewish people have been persecuted. Anti-Semitism and religious persecution have persisted. The Holocaust came. Mass migrations came. And anti-Semitism is not a theory of the past. It is present with us, especially now. From the hate speech of Charlottesville to the mass shooting at Tree of Life Synagogue, to the different instances of graffiti over the past 6 years here on Staten Island. There are plenty of forces that continue to try and persecute Jewish people for the faith they practice. Religious freedom is not a guarantee. It is something we practice and we fight for. Every time I think of Hanukkah, a specific image comes to my mind. You may have seen it on Google or in documentaries. I don't know if you have, but there's a black and white photo of a menorah in the window of someone in Germany in 1931, and outside the window are Nazi flags of the Third Reich. This photo, a real photo, was taken in 1931 by the wife of Rabbi Dr. Akiva Posner, Rachel Posner. She took this photo of her family Hanukkah menorah when they were celebrating. And on the back of the photograph, Rachel wrote in German, translated here, Hanukkah 5692, 1932. Death to Judah, so the flag says. Judah will live forever, so the light answers. So the light answers. Over the last week, we have seen the lights answer. From every corner of the world, Jewish people have lit the candles of the menorah, praying to God in celebration and rededicating themselves amidst fun and festivity to their faith. Cynthia Osnick, the author of The Messiah of Stockholm, wrote in this column in the New York Times, Reflections on Hanukkah in 1987, I quote, Hanukkah marks the earliest battle for religious freedom in the history of our planet. But more than that, Hanukkah marks the beginning of the very concept of religious freedom. If the life of a little people had been extinguished, if a small nation had not been victorious over a savagely reductive oppressor, if Judaism had been uprooted, and if the light of the Torah had been snuffed, what would our allegiances look like today? There would be no legacy of monotheism. The Ten Commandments would be absent from the treasure house of world culture. There would be no Christianity. There would be no Islam. There would be no Bill of Rights. That little bit of oil has lasted and lasted. Like the burning bush it reflects, it stands for the glory of God. End quote. Today we stand in a nation built on the ideals of religious freedom, but one where religious freedom is always and constantly in jeopardy. Whether in our congressional conversations about the founding of this country as a, quote, Christian nation, whether it's in our policies and our laws, or whether it's in the ways our government officials use words like terrorist against Muslim representatives, openly condoning anti-Semitist remarks, like what happened in Charlottesville or in the insurrection on January 6th. We are at risk of turning into a nation where we shut down the metaphorical temples and replace them with idols of nation, of work, of something that isn't the respect of each other's faith and the holy. We're not so far from the realities of the empires of antiquity. And so the light answers. The light answers that Judah will live forever. I myself am not Jewish. Though being born and raised Unitarian Universalist, I've been surrounded by people who are Jewish all of my life. And I know there are many people in this congregation who are Jewish. But whatever faith you have, the meaning of Hanukkah is vital and important. And we must answer to the words Rachel Posner said all those years ago. But even more, Unitarian Universalism has a unique history with the meaning of Hanukkah. And we see it in the light we burn every Sunday, our chalice. The chalice symbol was born as a symbol first to help aid refugees from Germany who were being persecuted, like those of the Jewish faith. It was a symbol about how we live into justice, about how we keep the lights alive. We all have a duty to keep the light alive. In our holiday festivities, whatever they may be, whether singing Christmas carols or playing dreidel or celebrating Yule or so many more holidays in this season, there is a vital importance to keep the light and promise of religious freedom alive. Whether they are the candles of the menorah, the votives in a Catholic cathedral, the Yule log that is burning on the solstice, or candles of prayer, we have a duty to fight for religious freedom, to keep the light burning, to keep lighting the candles, to practice our faith in ways that honor and celebrate the legacy of different faith traditions. Rabbi Sarah Sardin said, quote, "With every Hanukkah candle we light, we illumine the most important messages of all, that we must always work to keep the light of religious freedom burning for all people, for all time." In this season, one that can feel heavy on the spirits and hearts as the days grow longer, and as a weary world continues to experience division and hatred, look around and see all the candles, all the light. So many candles from so many different holidays and faith traditions. Look around and see how each light is a symbol of resilience, of resistance, a torch that has been passed from generation to generation to generation that has not been snuffed out. A light coming from the past and from the future, a connection from heritage and belief, from ritual and family and laughter. Lights that illuminate the pure power of human goodwill. Look around at the candles in the night. Signals that there is no force that could ever take away the faith, hope, or spirit of people. The light lives on for another year and another. What a miracle that such a small vial of oil has lasted all this time. May we do whatever we can to keep each other's lights burning. May it be so, and amen.
Now is the time in our order of service where we take an offering. We know it is the gifts of all of us that help support our ability to thrive and gather. For those in person, we invite you to drop your offering into the basket on the left of the stage as you exit into the parish hall after service. For those online, links and instructions will be posted in the chat. You can mail us a check or donate to our PayPal giving page. Please give as generously as you can. Our offering now will be greatly received.
May your days and nights be a feast of light.
Thank you, Eleanor. What a beautiful voice. Thank you. And now I will sing for you our closing hymn, 221, Light One Candle, one of my favorites growing up because I heard it performed by Peter, Paul, and Mary. So go ahead and sing along in your hearts, and Eleanor will play along with me. Would you mind doing a little intro for me? Thank you. Light one candle for the Maccabee children with thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice that justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. One candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain that we learned so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, that anger won't tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together with peace as the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. What is the memory that's valued so highly? We keep it alive in that flame. What's the commitment to those who have died when we cried out they've died not in vain? Have we come this far, always believing that justice would somehow prevail? This is the burden, this is the promise, and this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears.
Reverend Emily just channeled her inner Mary Travers, I think. Thank you, Eleanor. I invite you to join me in extinguishing our chalice. Please repeat after me if you know the words in your hearts. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment. For these we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Look around at all the lights, the candles in the night, and see the ways they answer. They do not answer to any dictator or tyrant. They answer to hope, to resilience, to justice, to the holy, to our human love. May we take care to carry each other's candles and to never stop kindling the flame.
So ends our service. We invite you all to please come into the parish hall. That has kind of been our plan, to leave the sanctuary and come into